If you're a Canadian renter, this is some big news. The all-time average rent in Canada has increased to 2,200. That's across the country. Now, this is obviously big news because it just showcases another factor of a real estate market and how wild it really is, especially on the rental side. It's also a clear indicator of the challenges that renters face right now in Canada. This is also a wake-up call for everyone in the housing sector, from renters to even policymakers, that this is getting quite wild now. But what does this mean if you're a renter? What does this mean for your budget and your living situation? Are there any strategies that you can adopt to navigate this challenging rental landscape? But let's really look at why rental prices have increased this much. Let's look at the several factors that have influenced this. And then first one is definitely supply and demand. There's a huge imbalance right now for rental units. So rental properties have been steadily rising due to urbanization, immigration, and the shifting home ownership preferences. So the number of occupied rentals increased by about 79,000 units in 2022. There's also a limited supply. So the rental units have not kept up to pace with the rising demand. And in 2022, rental supply increased by about 55,000 units, resulting in the lowest national vacancy rate since 2001. Also, economic factors like inflation. Now, even though inflation has come down, it's not like rent prices have come down. General inflation has increased the cost of nearly every item, including these costs have been passed on to tenants over time. Another factor would definitely be economic growth and employment. So Canada's urbanization has brought in a lot of people into the bigger cities like Toronto, Vancouver. Just those are where most of the jobs are. So of course, those are where the rents are going to be higher, and that's where people are going to be wanting to live. Obviously, higher real estate prices have played into this. Despite, a bit of a kind of sideways market, property values remain high, leading to higher mortgage costs for property owners, which are then passed on to renters. Obviously, population growth is a big factor. Immigration. Canada's population has exploded over the last couple of years. I can put up a chart here to see just how wild it has been over the last few years. And these newcomers, they need a place to live. They need somewhere to rent, right? If they're not going to buy right away, which a lot of them aren't, they just need to live somewhere. And so they need rental housing, right? So that has increased the prices for them. Another factor is definitely affordability, right? If someone can't buy a property, then they have to rent. So that also increases rents too. And we can also look at government policy and regulation. Also, COVID-19, what happened with COVID. The pandemic has increased the demand for rental apartments due to the need for adaptability and the shortage of affordable homes. So all these factors have increased the price of rent across the country. If you look at even Toronto and Vancouver, that's where rent is really high, close to even $3,000 a month on average. It's quite wild out there. So if you are in a position to potentially buy, if you are renting, I think it's now a good time, because I don't think rent is going to slow down. I think it's going to keep going up, because in a lot of these markets, even in Toronto, the rent is not keeping up with a lot of the mortgage costs. So that's slowly going to creep up and be passed on to renters. At the end of the day, the costs are going to be passed on to the renters. So if you can try to get out of renting in any possible way, reach out to me. We can go over the numbers and break everything down. I'll leave all my information down below. And of course, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.